Hello, and welcome to Revamped, a rewatch podcast that revisits my top favorite shows and movies. I'm your host, Brandon Alexander, joined by my co-host,
Courtney Autumn.
Venture with us as we set our sights on the infamous Hellmouth to cover 90s cult classic, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Follow along from the beginning, spoiler-free, as Courtney views the show for the first time and I revisit the series for new takes and a fresh perspective on its narrative.
Each season, every episode, in order, we will follow Buffy Summers and her friends to examine their character development, the show's underlying themes, along with its major story arcs, all while engaging in conversations, sharing our own authentic thoughts and feelings to what's unfolding before us.
So sharpen your stakes, load your crossbows, and join us as we explore the supernatural world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Let's get into the episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. The not sad version of episodes, the fun one, but not really. Today we're gonna kind of. Today we're gonna be discussing Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 2, Episode 18, Killed by Death. Aired March 3rd, 1998. Written by Rob Desautels, aka Manuela Desautels.
Manuela.
And Dean Batali. Directed by Duran Sarafian. Duran Sarafian. Like, that's a fun name to say. If the wiki, Buffy, and just sources are correct, these are our last episodes ever written by Rob and Dean for the series. Just saying. So this is the last time I've ever saying Manuela Desautels.
No, that's so sad.
Yeah.
They got fired?
I don't know what they did. I didn't look up that much because I'm not, y'all can go do the research if y'all want to know really that far into it. I'm just assuming they went on to do other things or whatever.
They got tired of Joss Whedon.
They got fired.
No, tired.
They're like, Marty Noxon is writing too good of an episode. Y'all got to go. But yeah, I thought that was interesting, so I figured I'd mention it. After Passion last week and watching it and recording it, I wanted to see how you were feeling coming off of the intensity of that episode, just because I know you texted me saying you were still grieving and all of that. I know it was a hard one to take in. And then, you know, obviously going into this episode that doesn't really deal with it fully in the aftermath, I wanted to see how you were doing a week after the events of Jenny's death.
I was curious to see where it was going to go right after her death because it was such an intensely emotional episode. Where can we go from this? Are we just going to spend the next episode grieving and just sitting around her grave and talking about how amazing she was, or what's going to happen? So I was glad in a way that we let up from the subject just because it's like, I had enough tears last week. So not that this episode didn't have sad elements, obviously, but it was definitely more on the lighthearted end. And the moments that were intense in a different way, which I appreciated. So I didn't cry this episode, thankfully. I got angry a lot this episode for different, or not really angry, but like annoyed. So it was a good emotion to feel after the grief because it was very properly distracting. So it was a nice lift of the weight from Jenny's death, and I appreciated it.
Did you talk with Meredith about it at all, or did she watch the episode or anything like that?
How about Meredith? I was all sitting here grieving about Jenny, and I kept bringing up Jenny, and she was like, finally, after the fourth time of me saying it, she was like, "Who's Jenny?"
Jenny, I got your number.
I was like, Jenny. I was like, Giles' girlfriend, and she was like, oh, Miss Carpenter. And I was like, no, Jenny.
Miss Calendar.
Yes, why do I keep fucking her name?
A lot of people did that. They did that on Buffering too from several episodes.
Did
they called her Jenny Carpenter. You called her Jenny Schechter last week, and then you corrected it to Jenny Carpenter.
I was just in the L word. I was in the L world.
The L with the L in the word. You get it? I love
the world.
That. No, that's funny.
Yeah, so I had to remind her. So I've realized now that either people know her as Jenny or they know her as Miss Calendar, and then that's it. Like, They don't know her as both. So I had to remind her, but then she was like really quickly saddened because she was like, oh shit, yeah, because you know she didn't watch the episode with us. I watched it with you. But she remembered and she was like, damn, yeah, I think that was like the first major character, right, from the crew that kind of got, you know, 86th from the show. And I was like, yes, indeed. And that's why it was even more sad because it was Jenny, but also the first one of the gang to like permanently be removed. There's no hope for her to come back, which is the sadder part of it all. Unless one day she rises from the dead, which I can hope for.
Not.
You never know. We're in the hellmouth.
Slayer at predictions with Courtney. All right, well, let's get into Killed by Death. This week, Buffy finds herself suffering from a severe case of the flu that lands her in the hospital, where she quickly uncovers a sinister mystery. Children are turning up dead, and not due to their illnesses, but at the hands of an invisible sadistic child death demon. As he preys on them and the threat escalates, Buffy realizes that the flu is not the only battle that she must face. Yes. It's my fusion. I don't know what's happening. It's the weed. Special guest, though, James Jude Courtney is playing Darkindestad, our demon this episode. He is an actor and stunt performer, and I was curious if you knew that name at all or have seen the actor in other things.
Is he the master?
No.
Okay, because at the end, he looked like the master, like just something about him.
Because he's got something in his eyes.
Who is he?
You want to know? You don't know? You know.
I don't know.
I know that you know, but you don't know, and I'm going to let you know now.
You know that. You know that I know that you know, and I don't know.
But you do know. You ready for the fact drop?
Yep.
His most notable role is playing Michael Myers in the Blumhouse Halloween 2018 Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends trilogy.
Holy shit, that's crazy.
He's hands down my favorite Michael Myers portrayer. I loved Halloween 2018, and I love watching him. He just portrays Michael Myers so well. He does that slow, creepy walk so well, which we kind of see it in this episode when he walks by the door frame in the first shot that we get a glimpse of him. So taking those elements and how tall he is and all that other stuff, he makes for one creepy motherfucker, whether he's a shape or he's a full-on demon with like the prosthetics and face. Because normally he's wearing a mask.
2018 Halloween was Meredith and I's like first movie that we went and saw together. So that's also interesting.
Yeah, did you go see it like the opening week?
We did, and we were actually in Asheville. So we were like out of town for the first time together, and we like did that as part of it. So that was a good memory. And I just remembered like, cause you know how I get in scary movies. I'm like, tell me what's happening. I'm like covering my face, and then so she got to experience that for the first time. And I think that surprised her, cause I guess I seem a little bit more tough than I actually am.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's good at doing a Michael Myers now. Like, holy shit. Because that's one of my favorite as far as the Michaels are concerned, because of just how much the energy is there. And he's like extra creepy, like you said. And the slow walk especially is just like, holy shit. They did a good job with casting him for that part.
Yeah, Michael Myers is always pretty ruthless. But in those movies, he's just like, I'll slam your face repeatedly into something until it smashes into nothing, like stuff like that. Whereas the original Michael Myers more sticks you, pins you, and then looks at his art type thing. This is more direct and just like one chop after the other type thing. So I like how he comes for you. I wanted to piggyback on you. I like how you had a memory for the specific, weekend and time frame that you saw the 2018 Halloween. I saw it with the same kind of element where, I didn't really enjoy my company that I was with, but that was when me and Austin went on our first vacation I took him to Universal, and we saw it opening day at the Universal Studios park at the Universal movie theater that's there as its first release for
nice.
the country. So that was a really cool thing. It was like during Halloween Horror Nights that we were there and all that stuff too. So it was a really cool time to see the movie. But you know what we need to see? We need to see Killed by Death, and we need to get to talking about that. What did you think of the episode overall, though?
I loved it. It was, like I said, super proper mood for coming off of such an intensely emotional episode, and not in a way to dismiss what happened, either, but it was just like very properly done, very good tone. I enjoyed the backstory a lot, and I like that this week the monster of the week was more, how do I say this? He was like less in your face, and he was like less like...
He was more on your face with his eyeballs.
Literally. And also, of course, we'll get into all of his elements later, but like I appreciated that like there were certain elements to work with there, like the only at nighttime thing and like the not seeing him thing. You know, I liked all these different things that you kind of had to consider in order just to be able to get rid of this thing. So I liked it. I had fun with it. I got annoyed with it. I laughed. It was a good Buffy episode. What about you?
I noticed whenever I did the script for it that I came back to add my notes for the episode, and I didn't really have much to comment on overall because it is a filler episode. This is one of those bottom of the barrel episodes. This is one of the ones that people often check off. This one and the one we get to in a couple of episodes, episode 20, are, especially for season 2, the ones that people just automatically toss out the fucking bag. They're like, these are the 2 worst. We can't stand these ones. Why are they ever a thing? Manuela Desatella is stupid, like all this other stuff.
That's why it's the last one.
Yeah, he's fired because of it. No, but I didn't have a lot to comment on, and nothing that wouldn't come from the metaphor and like theme section for the recording in general as well. So I was like, interesting. I wonder what I'll fucking talk about. I'm gonna have to pull shit out my ass. It's kind of like a Bad Eggs recording. Whenever we just kind of flew through the episode, we commented, we laughed. It was more about having a good time versus like over analyzing and dissecting. There wasn't a whole lot going on, even though there are themes and metaphors in this to get into later.
Totally.
It's not nothing crazy. It's just a fun little episode. I still find it to be a good watch. It's a smart and unique way to, like you were saying, to deal with the aftermath of Jenny while focusing on the pain from Buffy's perspective, even in the metaphor. But everyone's so worried about Buffy, like Giles. No one is really seeming to be talking about like Miss Calendar in a grander way this episode because she's, you know, sick and she's put in the hospital. There's the element of, is Angelus going to attack the stuff that's going on in the hospital, and everybody's pretty much there with Buffy at the hospital the whole episode too. So that was interesting. But I feel like everybody's still processing it, and that's why they're not actively just sitting around talking about it. And also the fact that even though it was one of the main people that have died, like it's just another week in Sunnydale to these people too. And not to say that disrespectfully, they're like, how many times now have we averted apocalypses or had this like big bad come in here, or even just a weekly big bad? Last week was a snake demon, this time it's a fucking robot, this time it's this. Like it's one week after another with these bitches. So they're like, well, now fucking somebody got killed. I mean, it was bound to happen at some point. So I feel like this episode sort of treats it that way. Like I said, not disrespectfully and not in a grander scale either. The episode too also, like in that mindset, doesn't drive the story along either. It pretty much just like kind of feels like a pause. I wrote in my notes. I felt like it was a little bit of a pause, which was nice because I think we'll have moments to deal with what we, you know, are dealing with. It's like kind of people are repressing a little bit right now before actively talking about it. And we kind of see that with Giles. The monster always goes down in the handful of ones I find personally creepy and scary looking. Most demons we see later on the show are just classic style demons and often like a humanoid like 𝒕𝒪𝒽 is. But this one demon has a little bit more of a sinister vibe, and I think it hits in a different way, maybe because, you know, he's targeting kids, and the storyline he's given along the episode within his lore as well is just kind of creepy. You know how I feel about death, and I'm never quite ready for it. None of us really are, but it's always this ominous vibe for me. So I was just like, ooh, and then you got kids element on it, people dying young again, kind of flashes back to the lie to me kind of vibes. We got Buffy's trauma that she deals with her, you know, cousin in this episode, all that, but it just adds to the element, and I think ranks him up on a higher category of memorable monsters to me from the show. My favorite part of this episode, though, is that it takes place entirely in a hospital, a place we've not seen in this capacity. And I think it helps that Buffy isn't vibing with them, as I started to kind of prelude with her cousin stuff, that, you know, her past traumas. Did you like the element of the hospital being our setting for the episode? Nice change. It wasn't a graveyard, not the library.
I did. And I actually really didn't think about it until the very end of the episode. And I think it was when they did like that full like scale shot of the outside of the hospital that really made me realize, oh, we've spent this entire episode in the hospital and we haven't like been in and out of school or Buffy's house or, you know, any of that. So I really did appreciate the change of scenery, especially because we're not in like some fucking weird spooky underground like factory or something like that with vampires walking all around. So
just 𝒕𝒪𝒽 chasing after the children in the tunnels.
You'd think you would be safe in a hospital, but apparently not.
No, not in Sunnydale anyways. Sunnydale Memorial might as well be called Sunnydale Memorial. For the you know what I meant, like a memorial, like, you know. All right. I did also want to just notate on the dialogue and funny moments along the episode, because the episode has a low vibe. It doesn't want to make you feel like the episode's a total drag with the low feeling energy that it has. So I like the fact that it kind of kept it upbeat, especially coming off, like I said last week. We needed the breath of humor coming off of that episode, and the show is really good with doing this, I feel like, because after Innocence we had phases and we kind of had some laughs there. We also had the like redirect of Oz, the storyline, and a little bit of a lighthearted theme between him and Willow going on there. So this episode kind of plays back into that, but also kind of keeps it melodramatic and like dark as well. So it's interesting. They wrote in specifically for Cordelia a lot of the quippy and laughable dialogue moments that I just spoke on. I noticed I wrote down. I had to like refrain from choosing her for like 18 of my quotes for the episode as well, because I was like, ooh, I like that. I was putting stars by everything whenever I was writing it down so I could put it down later in my final slays. And I was like, all right, Brandon, you have to take out 5 of these because you can't just sit around and talk about everything Cordelia said in it. I also did want to say a lot of people criticize it, like I was saying, bottom of the barrel episodes, but the element of Buffy being sick in this episode is something that drives people crazy also. And I think to me it makes sense, even though she's the Slayer and should heal more rapidly and not be hospitalized. You know, you wouldn't think, because she has like the ability to regenerate faster than other people. She has a power within her and all that. Yeah. So she should be able to, like, I wouldn't say not come down with a common cold for a couple hours, but she shouldn't be post up in the hospital for 3 days. No. But it's been...
This flu must be bad.
This flu is awful.
It must be COVID.
It's taken out half the school already, Buffy. You should be not concerned with how you're looking and get that plastic surgery. I see it as a case of getting hit when you're down, is the point I was going to make. It's been 3 episodes, which could have easily been weeks or, you know, even on the precipice of a couple months. We don't really know how long anything goes on gap-wise in between episodes because it's not really told, except for Buffy's birthday. That was all the course over like 24 hours. And Buffy is still beat up, I feel like, over the loss of Angel, the shit that he's been up to also since Innocence. They've had the 2 deaths, they've had Teresa and now Jenny, the constant attacks Angelus has been initiating on Buffy too, like including the opening scene in this one. I just see Buffy as a little bit weaker, like how when you're down in your head, your body takes that hit sometimes too. So I think all that combined is enough to warrant Buffy's susceptibility to illness in this episode. And it's nice to see the vulnerability of Buffy versus the Slayer that we always see.
Fully agreed, mate. But also, I literally like the fact that they did this because it does humanize her in a way, because you do have that elusive thought of like she's able to heal herself or regenerate or whatever, you know, so you would assume that there's no taking her out by natural cause. Like, so her being sick is just not even something I thought would ever like visually appear on the show. It's not something you really consider happening because she's the Slayer. So I did appreciate that they went there. I think it's interesting that it drives other people crazy, because when I noticed, because at first when we start into the show, I thought she was crying. You know, like I thought she was upset, and she had like she had symptoms from a fucking cold. So that's how like, you know, blindsiding it was for me, because I wasn't even I was like, oh, she's still crying over Jenny. It makes sense, you know, and she's like, whatever. So I'm like, she's upset, she's depressed, all these things. So for her to turn out and be sick, I was like, the fuck? That is the most random, but it did really humanize her. And I feel like, again, like I always say with a lot of those moments, it makes it really relatable, which at the end of the day just brings you right back to she's still a normal teenager. And you forget that sometimes when all these really intense things are happening and she's constantly having to put on her Slayer shoes, you know? So
yeah, I think it's more that she's able to be hit by the normality of what happens to real humans versus her being a normal teenager, because Buffy is far from a normal teenager, but I know what you meant.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like, she still has to live her normal life as a teenager. She still has to go to school. Half the people, well, more than half the people around her don't know that she's a Slayer. So it's like there's still this like normal thing that she has to uphold to continue to do what she's doing. And that's what I mean. This brought it full circle. It just normalized her and it humanized her. And like you said, it was just something that like you don't really expect or think about until you see it in this episode, because you're just like, she's gonna heal herself. It's all good. She'll be fine in 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Not so much.
And then she goes back for the second dose. Damn bitch is crazy. All right, well, let's talk about the episode and walk through it. Previously on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel's lost his soul. Jenny, actively working to restore that soul, is murdered by Angelus. Buffy is apologetic to Giles for not being able to kill him. The time's coming that she must go up against him and feels to blame for Jenny's death, but she is starting to feel ready to take him on and actually do the deed. So ominous. We're like thinking that opening scene that Buffy's going to kill Angel. We're like, no, not yet.
I don't know. I knew better.
We open in a graveyard as a very visible sick Buffy hops its wall out on patrol, sniffly, not crying. She hears some foot stirring and leaves wrestling, leaping behind a mausoleum, only to find a non-vampire, aka Xander, +2, Willow and Cordy, out there to help her, since, you know, she should be at home in bed because half the school is out with the flu, as Cordy voices. And she's like,
we're all concerned about how gross you look. I'm touched, really.
She comes out the fucking heat with this. This is my first like check on Cordelia. One, shut the fuck up, but also keep talking. And the way that Buffy stares at her after the comment too, the way she just looks at her, I'm like, oh. I wish Buffy could have heard her later comment about like that thing, but we'll talk about that then. Willow tries to convince her one night off full of rest is not going to kill her, and that's the point, because one night off for the Slayer could mean someone else is getting killed. Xander voicing she means Angel could kill someone else, putting us in the position to already understand Buffy is suffering from the events of last week's episode. They lightly debate some over about the fact that Buffy shouldn't be out there tonight, but she tells them on her watch, even with half Slayer energy, nobody else is going to die at the hands of Angel. Bad timing, because Angelus calls out in Vamp Face before them. Oh, come on, just one more. He moves into attack, and I thought it was interesting. He runs straight for Cordelia. Like, out of the whole group, he didn't go for Buffy first. He pounced on Cordelia. And Xander and Willow kind of stepped back too and just let it happen. Not really, but in my mind's eye, that's what happened. I'm like, what happened? Buffy was real quick, obviously, to pull him off. And then she tried to stake him immediately too. She's just like over it. Like, after Jenny, she's like, well, last time you threw me off the thing and I had to go worry about rescuing Giles from the fire. And he blocks the fucking stake and overcomes her. He's like, not feeling well, lover. She beats him back a couple of blows, mocking that whipping his ass is helping to aid her illnesses. And I loved Buffy's like comeback for that. I was like, this is some nice Buffy banter right here. Angelus begs to differ as he moves in on her again, her missing attacks and him quickly overcoming her again, pinning her to the ground where he's about to bite her. And I'm like, ooh. And he's like,
this does not look good for our heroine.
And I fucking love that quote, the way he plays it out in it. And he's like, gonna kill her. And you're like, damn, she could literally die right here because she's sick. But thankfully our gang is here and they move in, covering his head with Xander's jacket. And he deals some blows to Angel and actually like gets him fucking knocked down, which was pretty cool. And by the time he does get back up, they've all pulled crosses on him and they're standing there, you know, like right in front of Buffy, standing the ground for Buffy. So Overbite can get to walk in. And I thought that was funny because he's like, get to walk in Overbite. And I'm like, because, you know, vampires, if they just sit there, their things hang out over their lips. It's like an Overbite. I'm like, damn. He does back away and leave. And Buffy is really upset. She told them to leave, but feeling dizzy, falls, passing out onto the ground. And then we cue the Buffy theme. New location time. We come back in at Sunnydale Memorial Hospital for the first time since Nightmares, because we did get the hospital scene with Billy and all that whenever we were dealing with the dream stuff that he was doing, and you know, the lucky 19. Gotta throw it back every now and again. It's fun to say. Xander carries in passed out Buffy as the gang all separately excuse what happened to her. And by excuse, I mean excuse, because they're all like naming out random things like that happened. And then they land on the fact that she has the flu and passed out, because it's the most logical. They can't really be like, well, she was trying to slay vampires at the graveyard and all this other stuff. But, you know, she's sick, so make it better. Doctors rush her off as Willow moves to go call Giles to tell him what happened, instructing Cordy to call Joyce and tell her the opposite day version, and just to get her there. Later, we see everyone in the waiting room as Joyce arrives, just in time for the doctor to come speak with her and tell her that Buffy is going to be fine. But she's going to be in the hospital for a few days to recover. We catch a glimpse of everyone getting to see her in the halls as she's being moved in her room, but wanting to go home, them explaining that that's not the option at the Moans. She's a little loopy from the fever, and she starts saying some weird shit and then wigging out after finding out that she has to stay there. And it causes that struggle. And she starts warning them about like the vampires, and the doctor's giving her a sedative shot to help her relax. And then she starts to settle out and she's still talking about vampires. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, it's good if you're going to do this at any point in time, it's good you're doing it right now, right here, when you're already loopy from a fever, you're in the hospital being admitted, your mom already knows this is uncomfortable to use, and that medicine works fast as shit, and she kind of fades out, but she's still, like I said, speaking on the vampires, and Giles steps in to like play along with her.
Yes, we'll get to those vampires later. It's best to play along.
Like the low-key thing and the funny high-key thing is that they're being dead ass serious. They're trying to ease her mind because she knows that like what's happening out there. If she's in the hospital, Angelus is left out there to kill a bunch of fucking people. So, you know, it is what it is on that track. But I think it's really funny because like Giles even says that he's like, best to play along, and looking at everybody, he's like, wink, wink, haha. But then he looks at Xander and Will and everybody else. He's like, God damn it, like we need to show her the fuck up. Joyce tells her that it's going to be okay, and is probably thinking, I wrote in my notes, where can I get some of these drugs my daughter's on, because she over here talking about vampires and shit. Meanwhile, Buffy whines for her to please not make her stay there as they wheel her away towards her room, leaving the gang behind where they cannot follow. This is the first viewpoint on the fact that Buffy's uncomfortable, she's weaker, she's vulnerable, and we're not used to seeing that. We're used to seeing a stronger heroine, a person that is ready to kick ass, and she's not that right now. Xander calls this a new experience, seeing Buffy scared like that. Joyce telling them about how she's hated hospitals ever since she was 8 when her cousin Celia died. I was so mad at myself. I thought this bitch's name was Cecilia the whole time, and I got like halfway through my notes. I guess I didn't catch it here, and I had to go back and rewrite it because halfway through the episode, I'm like, oh, this bitch's name is Celia, not Cecilia. I was like, where the hell did I get Cecilia? But then I started thinking about the fact that like Cecile is the character of, oh my God, what's her name from Cruel Intentions with Sarah Michelle Gellar? She like makes out with her. Selma Blair. I was like, maybe I'm thinking of like Cecile from that, like because her name is Cecilia Caldwell. Don't ask how I know that because it's
maybe Celia. Oh, it's Celia. Oh no, see, I thought it was Cecilia too.
Right? See how it's like a fucking Mandela effect. We both was thinking her name was Cecilia. I really strongly remembered. I was like, yeah, her name's Cecilia. I was writing it all up in my notes and stuff, and I'm like, her name is Celia, but whatever.
Maybe we just hear Cecilia more or something. So
I don't ever hear that name. You know who else's name is?
I don't hear either of those names, really.
Do you want to know who else's name is Celia? I'm pretty sure it's Celia from Weeds, the crazy blonde bitch that's like a crazy HOA mom, and then she kind of turns out like
in season 1.
Yeah, she's like hardcore in season 1 on that mom bullshit, and then by season 2 and 3 she's jacked up just like everybody else and doing drugs. I'm pretty sure her name
is Celia. Yeah, right.
I think her name is Celia. That's the only other person. So, but anyways, enough with the Celia, since we got to get back on Killed by Death. Joyce needs to go call Hank, and Giles directs her towards a phone to do as such, and Joyce thanks him for looking out for her daughter, all of them, in fact. And again, he comments, like, we're all very fond of her, and I really like that comment, because that assures Joyce's peace of mind over her daughter, you know, like, that people actually really like her, and that she's a do-good person and all that. Well, I wouldn't say do good person, but we know that she's doing good. So I guess how I can say that from the opposite side of the screen. Joyce stops Giles before he can leave her to hopefully not out of line apologize and give her condolences about the death of Miss Calendar. Buffy having mentioned he and her were close, and Giles accepts this, and she goes on to say how Buffy has been down since what happened, and it's clearly affecting her health. She politely offers if he needs anything to reach out, and he thanks her before he leaves himself. But I thought it was interesting, like we get another little scene with Giles and Joyce kind of off to the side. We haven't really seen that since Bad Eggs. And I like that she speaks on the fact that Ginny's dead because of the fact that she's like, I don't know, we can't have the interaction of Ginny and Giles. Like Naj said that last episode, you had said it in the beginning of the series, we had another adult for Giles to interact with, and now that element's gone, we don't have that anymore. He's back with just the kids from school. So I like the fact that they paired them up in this scene for her to be able to give her condolences, him possibly have the ability to speak on it, even though he chooses really not to because he's not ready to talk about it, as we can very clearly see. But I like whenever they have those moments too. But the trio are talking about Buffy's non-cosmetic surgery stay because Cordelia is speaking crap on those hospital surgeons, and she's like, she may as well get that thing done while she's here. You guys know that thing. And I'm like, what thing? Why is this in here? Because it's typical Cordy to bring something like this up for sure. But what do you think the thing is? Because I think Buffy is gorgeous. Sarah Michelle Gellar is gorgeous. So what is the thing?
I know. I'm like, I want to know what they were even like alluding to, because I can't see anything wrong with her at all.
Cordy obviously does. I thought it was so funny. I mean, if we got into the real aspect of things, I know a lot of people have called Sarah Michelle Gellar in the past. I mean, most people praise her, but she does have like a flat divot point kind of thing at the tip of her nose. And I love that accent of her nose, but I guess maybe
I literally
that's
love
the thing
her
they're
nose.
talking about. I just
Yeah.
want to know what happened when Sarah read through the script and she saw Cordelia's dialogue. She wasn't in the scene, so I don't know if she actually read it or not, but I'm assuming she probably reads through the script so she knows as Buffy in entirety what's going on. And when she read it, she's like, what the fuck's the thing? Like, she went to Josh and she's like, what the hell is this thing? He's like, that's the thing no one knows. He's like, Cordelia's just popping off at the mouth, you know? Willow moves on to actual worries over the fact that maybe Angel might attack her in here. As Xander mentions, it's a public building, so he totally could. Cordelia's still going on. She's like,
Am I the only one that's noticed that thing?
she's still over there thinking about it. We cut to later in the middle of that night, 2:27 a.m. to be exact. And we know what actual time it is. We don't know what day it is, but we know what time it is. Buffy alone in her room, waking up. We are hearing for the first time the score for Killed by Death in this too, and it's that kind of creepy, eerie with the hospital beeps to the machine. The music's really cool. And it's also the background music from the season 2 DVD menu is this music. So for me, it's like I'm back in my room at 12, 13 years old whenever I hear that music. And I hadn't heard it in a while, but as soon as I do that, I just think about like how I'd fall asleep at night and the episode would finish and it'd just be like on that repetitive loop of that 25-second menu screen, and it would just not stop. And I would just sleep through it. I was like, this is peaceful, but you know, it's really eerie and chilling, more like whatever, but totally Buffy the Vampire Slayer vibes. She sees a boy just standing at her door before walking off, immediately seeing a creepy looking fucking demon pass by, following after him wearing a black top hat. Buffy sits up in bed thinking maybe she hallucinated it, but gets out of bed to go and investigate. And again, on the subject of me as a kid and this triggering, I remember the first time I saw 𝒕𝒬𝒪, and this scared the shit out of me when I watched it. I wasn't expecting it. It was late at night. This might have even been the same night that I left it on the menu screen while I fell asleep. Like, I don't know, it's fucking creepy, and it just made me feel really uneasy. I love how when I just went to laugh just now, like his laugh when he walks by, he's like,
does that weird giggle.
It's fucking chilling, and I'm just like, but I remember it bothering me. It wasn't as bad as some of the other movies. Like, I remember me and Tiffany watching the movie Darkness Falls with like the Tooth Fairy lady, like if you ever watched that back in the day. I remember we had to stay up like and watch 2 Disney movies or something afterwards. And this episode and 𝒕𝒬𝒪 when I was younger used to give me that same vibe. Like, after I would watch this episode, if it was at night, I would have to watch something pleasant afterwards, so I didn't feel like 𝒕𝒬𝒪 was about to come out of my closet and eat me up.
You gotta have that like thing to cushion the blow so you don't go to bed and like shit your pants, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's always something about a doorway shot. I will say that would have freaked me the fuck out too if I was 12 or 13. And anything going by a doorway, or you know how like movies are so typically known to have that mirror shot where like someone like bends down the sink to wash their face and then they come up and someone's behind them in the fucking mirror. Don't be doing that shit.
And it's always, they're always standing in the door frame or like right there by the door.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I can't do shit with realistic elements because there's too much realism in a doorway, just in your good old average doorway, you know? Because I'm like, what the fuck? I can look out this doorway right now and there could be somebody standing there. I don't know. You know, like
stand there with a top hat on.
Even if it was Meredith, you know. No, the creepiest thing was when Nixon first started walking and I wasn't used to it. He would just like come into my room and stand there sometimes, and all I would see is this like little silhouette of a person just standing there at the foot of the bed, and I'm like, you cannot do that. I'm gonna lock the door.
Bruh, while we're sharing stories like that, whenever like a couple years ago specifically, Lydia, and this is gonna tie in perfectly with this episode because we're talking about Michael Myers, she is terrified, and that she's not as uncomfortable now, but for like a strong year and a half, she was terrified of Michael Myers. She would not sleep in her own bed anymore. When she came to stay with me, when I had to watch her while Jennifer was out of town, she had to sleep in my bed with me because I would put them in the spare room at my house or like on the couch or wherever. And she would leave out of that room and be like, I'm scared. I'd be sitting up at 4:00 in the morning being like, we have to get up in 95 minutes to take you to school. And I've been up 6 times with you because you keep coming to my room saying I'm scared or cutting on lights in the freaking house and all this. No. One specific night, I'm sleeping in bed and this bitch, I wake up and she's just standing at the foot of my bed, standing there. And I was like, Lydia, get out of here. Like, there was no lights on. All I could see was her silhouette. I'm like, this is how I die. So it's 𝒕𝒬𝒪. All that being said, door frames, scary things. I'm assuming that this bothered you whenever he walked by and you were like,
yes.
Did you think he was cute?
100%. Like, totally husband material.
Yeah, same. That's my kind of vibe. Dead, scrawny men. dead look.
His fingers were really doing it for me.
Yeah, they were really long, kind of creepy. It's the all black too. It really makes his skin and the red bags under his eyes like, okay.
I like how he also has to have his top hat on before he kills somebody. It's a must.
You see where he drops it later and he picks it up and puts back on his head.
He's like, nope, gotta do this first.
I like later too, whenever he takes it off and like gives that like head nod to Buffy before putting it back on and going down to the boiler room to eat some children. Like, we'll get to it. I'm jumping ahead, but let's get back to Buffy, who's walking down the halls. We see her imagining herself at 8, also walking down the halls because we get some flash kind of cut back scenes. And she arrives at her cousin's room and almost enters before waking up in her bed at the same time, having clearly been dreaming and not seeing the boy at her door, but still getting up to roam the halls. A creepy security guard eyeing her while she does. And I'm like thinking, oh, well, this scene's going to like play out the exact same way. It's like a foreshadow, kind of like Buffy premonition, prophetic thing, but it did not. In an adjacent hall, a child is being wheeled out on a stretcher passing by her, the men commenting that they hate losing the young ones. Buffy arriving at the door frame, hearing 2 doctors arguing over how one of them thinks the main doctor should step back on their dosages, them not responding to the normal dosage, and him having upped their dosages, I'm saying dosages way too fucking much, in hopes to help them fight their sickness. As this continues, Buffy runs into the little boy that she saw, and a girl who ominously just tells her about the man who was actively coming for them and how grown-ups don't see him.
He comes at night. The grown-ups don't see him. He was with Tina. He'll come back for us. Who? Death.
He just walks up and he's like, you're all gonna die in here. Like, you know, that kind of shit. Like, what the fuck? But he also has never taught this girl, and he just goes, child death is coming for us. And I'd be like, little boy, what the fuck you telling me? You better go back to your room or your children's ward. What the hell are you doing? You want next on the stretcher? What are you doing over here by me? Just kidding. But this stuns Buffy. And what we would assume is the next evening, we see Xander sitting in the halls as Angelus walks in with a few white roses for Buffy. Dramatic fucking scene flip, too. I'm just saying. Like, we go from that automatically into this. Xander jumping up to stand before him, saying visiting hours are over. Angelus retorting, but he's pretty much fam. He's like, I'm fam. In the club, we all fam. In the club. In the hospital. Him replying, come back during the day, but oh wait. And the standoff right here is pretty interesting. Angelus looks at Xander to snark back about how if he wanted to walk into Buffy's room, does Xander think that he could stop him potentially? And then he like smiles to himself because he already knows the answer to his question. And then Xander adds like, no, probably not. But the security, the cops, the orderlies, they could all make it an issue for you. And he'd like to see what would happen. I'm pretty sure that Angelus could take out everyone if he wanted to. He would. He's not like they're gonna shoot him with guns. If anything, he's gonna be like, well, damn, I'm a little wounded. I gotta like retreat. But they're not going to kill him. They ain't pulling out stakes. So he could easily like pop one of them next, throw another one across the room and knock him out, fucking tackle Xander's ass because you know Xander ain't never doing shit when it comes make him do another backflip like in Bewitched. Like he could take out all those people. I'm just going to say that there. But Angela smacks the flowers to Xander's chest and then he smirks at him too and states,
Buffy's white knight. You still love her. Must just eat you up that I got there first.
Ooh, damn. It's kind of given the opposite energy of like the first time they talked about their dual love for Buffy and Prophecy Girl. And then I really like whenever Xander looks at him firmly in his eyes, stating,
you're gonna die. And I'm gonna be there. Tell her I stopped by.
The standoff is intense, but it's between these 2 men who both love her now in different ways. But like, holy fuck, the fact that Angelus backed down to him, I thought was like really interesting. But I also thought in the chilling way that Xander gets the last word with him, because oftentimes you would expect somebody like Angel, who's been not letting Spike get the last word, anybody else, he kind of let Xander get the last word here, and then he fucking just leaves.
I was obsessed with it, to be honest with you. And this is where I loved Xander the most in this episode, because you would think, knowing Angel's potential to do harm, you would think that he would have at least like a slight hesitation on kind of like stepping up so firmly right away. But it's like he didn't waste no time. He saw Angel, he stood up, he got in his face, he said his piece. And I loved it. I loved what he said because he did. He was like kind of like saying, I'm aware of what you can do. And you can technically do whatever you want. And I'm aware of that. But basically, I want you to try. And I think that when someone knows your potential and isn't scared of it, and they know the potential is them dying in like less than a second, and they literally try you, I would be walking the fucking other way too, because I'm like, I'm just had a conversation with a psychopath. Like,
Yeah. Well, Angel wasn't, like I was saying, he wasn't fucking wanting to deal with all that. He's like, well, damn, that might not be as quite as easy as like I want it to be. I'm just gonna have to deal with like everybody in this room. And he's like, I'm not really about that right now.
And we know that Angel's so much more about dragging this out because he loves the mental torment first. He'd rather play this game for a long time before he does anything else or kills someone else. Because if you think about it, he just killed Jenny. So it's kind of like, okay, I'll let them grieve probably and let them really wallow in that for a second. Then I'll probably kill someone else. I don't even think that he came there with a motive to kill Buffy. I think he's literally just dragging this bullshit.
No, I think he wanted to pop in there. If Xander hadn't presented that to him, he would have walked in there smoothly, walked to her room, and I don't think he would have killed her. I think he would have taunted her in there in some way, and she probably would have, started to fight him and stuff like that, and then he would have ran out like he does usually. And it would have just been another instance where he's like, I got her again. Kicked that bitch when she was down. Now I've got her dreading this shit and whatever. I don't know that at the same time, because he looked like he was hella intent on killing her in the beginning of the episode too. So maybe he would have walked in that room and just fucking killed her. I don't know. But the episode where Buffy dies. Either way, in that same moment, we get a flashback to the past of Buffy playing hero with her cousin Celia, not Cecilia, who is trapped under pillows, and Buffy comes in as Power Girl, saving her, flashing back to the day she found her cousin in the room, this time making it past the door and into her room where she watches Celia lay in her bed sleeping. This whole creepy crawly shit. It's really interesting how they tie it in too, but I'm also curious, like, because Buffy obviously didn't live in Sunnydale. And I'm like, is 𝑦𝑒r the only child death? Is he like Santa Claus, where he goes around, just moves from town to town and does this like consecutively? Is he an entity able to like teleport? Is he just always walking around as this invisible force? Does he have a car that he has to get in and go drive to, wherever? Like, did he have to hop on a boat?
Is the car invisible?
Did he have to hop on a boat and come from Germany originally, since he's Germanic and like folklore problems? Like, what is, I don't know.
How did you get here?
Just once again, gotta know these answers. And I also feel like that scene is so corny. I low-key hate it. I'm just gonna say I do like the fact that Buffy is playing as a superhero. She's Power Girl. She's there to protect. And it's an interesting thing. It's like to show that she had this potential in her to be a heroine in this way. I keep saying heroine because Angel called her a heroine in the beginning, but it plays into the episode perfectly. But I always think it's so corny. She's like, I'll save you, and I'm like, ugh, get these bitches off my screen. No, I need to see Buffy when she's 17, not when she's 8. Buffy wakes up in real time to find the female doctor in her room to tell her that her fevers went down, and Buffy is feeling great and wants to go. But the doctor's like, nah, bitch, you gotta still hang out, and is baffled also. Like, she's like, all the swelling and trauma seems to have like gone down. You're like, this is miraculous recovery vibes right here. Buffy's like, okay, anyways, tucks her hair behind her ear. She's like, that's crazy. That was funny. Buffy wondering if the virus, if it's the same one that the kids have, but before the doctor can actually answer her, the gang comes in there to finally get to see Buffy after she's woken up. Xander brings Buffy flowers, aka balloons. Thought that was really cute. She's like, he's like, I brought you flowers. And she's like, I'm not stupid, those are balloons. I'm like, okay, well, you're not delirious anymore. Willow brings Buffy homework, and Buffy is not pleased with that decision. She's like, chocolate says get well soon better. Willow clarifying that she completed her homework assignments already for her, and now chocolate means nothing to Buffy. She steps aside looking at Cordy, who is giftless because she's out of the loop on gift giving.
Nobody told me I was supposed to bring a gift. I was out of the loop on gifts.
It's traditional among people.
Giles completing the round of gift giving to hand Buffy some grapes that he's brought her. And I was like, he was totally snacking on them damn grapes, because you can see him chewing whenever he goes to hand them to him. I was like, what you bring me? You brought me a fucking vine of some grapes, and you not ate about 6 or 8 of them. I would be upset as a Taurus if you eaten my food that you brought me. I was gonna say, you don't bring somebody a pack of 6 cupcakes and have eaten 2 of them.
Why not?
You the kind of person that goes through the drive-thru and eats half the other person's fries before you get home and then give them the one with the less fries in it, aren't you? Yes, you are. I know,
yes.
I know you are, because you've done it to me.
I'm an Aries, of course. I'm a selfish bitch.
It was so funny because your camera froze and you were just like this, I'm an Aries. Like, you're just like, you were not moving or anything. I was like, oh my god, she's a robot. She's Ted.
It's Malcolm.
Yeah, Malcolm. I miss him. Oh, the good old days.
Stay away from Willow. It is none of your business.
So that's what Malcolm looks like.
But this episode is crazy. Buffy starts to tell them about the night before, but nurses are around and suggest going outside for some fresh air, which we do, and see Willow pushing Buffy in a wheelchair, which Buffy could totally get used to being cared for like this. And I love how Willow's like,
You want me to go real fast? Not that I would.
just push Buffy and go running like all of us kids do. I mean, that was me. You're in a rolling thing, you gotta go fast. But not Giles, because he is like, oh, girl, what? And Willow looks at him and she's like, yeah, I wasn't going to do that anyways. What are you talking about? I was just kidding. A Willow fashion moment here, because I love her black, yellow, and orange sweater that she's got on. And she has a flower choker to match with the same colors in the flowers. I thought it was cute. I really liked her in the sweater. And a random thing to call out, but I really liked it. I think it's because I mostly love black and orange together. It was given Halloween vibes. It's because James Jude Courtney was here, and Buffy had a prophecy dream that he was going to play Michael Myers one day. So they're like, let's put the element of Halloween in here. And I love Cordy's black boots too. Like, her whole fit is pretty cute in general. She was like popping in her outfits this episode for sure, but I really specifically liked the boots. They get back into the stuff that Buffy took notice to, her telling them of the girl that died there last night due to the flu, which Xander calls not monsterific sounding. Buffy adding Dr. Backer, who's been giving the kids experimental treatments and got some creepy, weird vibes coming from him, and then tells us of the kid Ryan who told her that he saw death. They are hot on the topic of death. Buffy saying maybe it wasn't, though. Maybe it was, in fact, something else just as bad. And this is honestly a no-duh thing. This is like the Hellmouth, so no one should be doubting any of this at this point. They should just be all on board. And Cordy using no tact to ask Buffy,
So this isn't about you being afraid of hospitals because your friend died and you want to conjure up a monster that you can fight so you can save everybody and not feel so helpless?
wow, way to like really ring it in, like for exactly what the thing. I don't know, Cordy being on her shit for that. She was just like exactly calling what was happening out. Giles wondering if this bitch has actually ever heard of tact, and Cordy admits that tact is just not saying true stuff, aka something that she doesn't believe in. Willow cluing her in that Joyce told them about her cousin, and Buffy says it has nothing to do with that Ryan did see something and she's going to find out what. Xander wondering what they can do to help. And I like this because it took a little bit, and I know I've said it in the past, like the gang often doesn't believe Buffy when she immediately tells them. Sometimes like she's got weird vibes about something, or like about Ted, or like she's having those Slayer senses tingling. You know, they often doubt her, but this time they looped in really quick, and I like how Xander out of everybody was like, well, what can we do to help you? So another likable moment for Xander this episode. All of our Xander lovers that are still listening to the podcast are coming right now because I said that. Like, they're jizzing all in their fucking little listener pants. It's great. They're like, wow, 3 episodes in a row where they glorified Xander. What's happening? I love this they've revamped the show. Cutscene transition magic to Cordy and Xander entering into a restricted files area on their task helping. Their dialogue is funny back and forth about how Cordy is not so pleased with yet another monster of the week helping out moment. They split up to search as Cordy gets caught by the security guard, wondering what the fuck she is doing there. At the library, Giles and Willow are there to research some, but Giles is on the fence, having some doubts on if Buffy is correct. And I'm like, don't doubt Buffy. Quit doubting fucking Buffy. Or if she's just handling trauma, especially after Jenny. Willow clarifying, while true, they do also factually live on the Hellmouth. And I like this too, because like yet another friend is being like, this could really be the case. So the kids could have seen a monster. Giles adding a monster adults can't see, getting his gears thinking psychologically kids will see adults' true monstrous faces, and Willow thinks maybe it's the doctor up to no good. Moving to look him up. Back over at the hospital, Cordelia has slipped through the cracks on getting caught, where we see her doing what she does best, using her assets in the form of flirting to work the security guard over for info. And this guy must not realize that she's 17 years old either, because I'm like, the way she's flirting with him and touching on his arm and shit like that, and like the stuff that she says, I'm like, Cordelia, did you forget you're 17? Like, talking to a grown adult, and he's he's a security guard, so he's not really an officer. He's giving Xander his career fair, but I thought it was funny that she's like fondling him. And then like, she also touches his belt. Did you? I don't know if you really paid that much attention.
I know.
I never saw that.
I was like, what is she about to do to him?
That's the point that I noticed, is the fact that she touched his belt. And I'm like, bitch, like, I mean, I get it. You're trying to work it and make this guy like be like, oh yeah, it's fine that you were in here. You just got lost. This isn't the bathroom. Ha ha ha. Like, totally understandable. He doesn't know that she's 17 years old, rightfully, and she didn't start or lead the conversation with that. But I'm just like, the whole thing was giving me the ick. I'm just going to say now, as a preface to Weekly Wigs, that this is sort of my breeze by Weekly Wigs. It's my drive by Weekly Wigs. like the vampires coming to pick up the blood. You remember? Cordy bringing up this little girl who died and him saying that Dr. Backer is great, but he understands the truth about children, that of which being that sometimes they die. And I thought that was creepy as shit because he just like his role, he's like, yeah, Dr. Backer is great, but sometimes children get killed. And I'm like, oh, fuck. What are you saying, my dude? He's all flustered because of the belt touching. Xander makes noise and almost ruins it, but Cordy redirects the guard in order to distract him a bit longer as Xander sneaks out of the room with the file. She meets him outside later, giving the file to her to take to Giles while he stays behind to, as Cordy would call it unattractively, his obsession to protect Buffy. Another round of the fun dialogue between the two before she like leaves to take Giles the file. But speaking on Xander's checking, out Buffy's ass, ending it with like, how about you look at your girlfriends instead? And then she like walks away. Shangel's reviews said about this scene, Xander watching Cordy's back was yet another great little moment to break up all the drama, emotion, and sheer terror of this episode. I'm sure a lot of people have enjoyed watching Cordelia's back over the years. Whilst we're on the subject of Cordy and Xander, it is so refreshing to see some more development for their relationship. Cordelia is genuinely jealous that Xander puts Buffy before her. Xander is genuinely jealous at Cordelia flirting with the security guard. For a relationship that started out of nothing but lust, it's wonderful character progression that genuine feelings seem to have developed. End quote. I myself have to agree with Shangel's review and just the statement in general, because this is the vibe of their relationship. Apparently, Cordelia isn't one to worry about some other girl truly, so she walks away and makes that comment full of sass and confidence for Xander to check her ass out. But Xander really should stop checking out other women, and this is the thing that I said I would have beef with for Xander in the episode. I'm not going to really go into it because we just understand that he likes to look at all fucking women at this point, but I do love how Cordelia is pretty much just unfazed by him at this point, and she's like, well, fine, look at me then. I try not to worry about Xander's stuff anymore, because this is something that I noticed I wanted to say whenever we started talking about Xander in the beginning of the episode, because of the fact that a few episodes you pointed out, Xander was actually starting to grow on you in certain ways, and we had some, different trivial things to talk about that weren't as trivial as the other shit with Xander. I'm just kind of understanding with the quote that you said, he is just a fucking boy. We just understand that this is who he is and this is what we're going to see of him on the show. So I'm just like not going to get as triggered by the littler things anymore. If bigger things happen, then I might get bothered if it's like pack level vibes. But otherwise, Xander's we just got to call it like we sees it. This is Xander. So I like that moving forward. It kind of gave me a little bit of like a breath of fresh air for the podcast, because I've listened to so many other podcasts that have hated on Xander, and not in a bad way. It's just helped warp my view on him versus like the initial. When I used to watch the show as a kid, I would feel one way about him and not the same way that like I tend to feel now. I would just be like whatever, or laughing at his jokes and things like that. And I didn't really see the misogyny or any of the other problematic things that go down with like his dialogue and the stuff that the way he's written just in general. So now it's nice to take it with grace and not get as heated and as upset in the littler moments when he's just making these comments about like what Buffy's wearing, about the fact that Willow and her didn't have a camera in the bedroom whenever they were having the sleepover, little stuff like that. I'm just not going to be freaking out about it as much, and it's nice to have been granted that relief. All right, great. Elsewhere in the hospital, Buffy has found Ryan's room and comes in to talk with him warning that she shouldn't be there due to the contagious factors, her okaying it because she's already got what he got. She chalks up the why being because she's a grown-up, clarifying she's not so much grown, metaphor in action, as she takes notice to him drawing a picture of a creepy-looking fucker, aka the monster from her dream that we get a flash of in her mind, like him walking by the door again. And like I'm like, oh hell, this motherfucker drawing pictures of Dick Henderson. It kind of reminded me of like the Insidious movie when the kid's drawing all the pictures of the red-faced demon and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I know that movie still terrifies me. I remember when we were watching Insidious like around the 2011 craze, whenever the Harold Camp and stuff was happening, we had to turn off the movie because we were uncomfortable. We were just like, we can't watch anything scary right now. It kind of sucks because we like scary stuff. Either way, Ryan tells her that he's coming again tonight, and Buffy assures him that when he does, that she will be there.
We both know that there are real monsters, but there's also real heroes that fight monsters. And that's me.
Him just telling her, you can't fight death. Like this kid's mindset is just like kind of warped and fucked, which kind of sucks. But I also like the fact of like what Buffy says right there. Just the fact that she's like, monsters might be real and you're actually seeing something. I believe you. And guess what? I can fight them. And of course the kid doesn't know that she's the Slayer or anything else in context. So he's just like, yeah, okay, bitch. Like, but he's gonna eat up my friends. Where were you a week ago? Like all of a sudden you're going to do something? Like, no, I don't believe it. But once again, people don't believe Buffy, even the 7-year-olds. In the library, Willow and Giles have stumbled upon some risque props with Dr. Back's malpractice suits, controversial experimenting, etc. Giles offering up the fact that he gave Buffy the Wiggins. And I like this too. Giles actually says Wiggins.
Factor in Buffy's observation that he gives her the Wiggins.
That was funny. He wanted to sound cool, so he's using the phrase that Buffy uses. They wonder what he could be doing to the children before we cut back over to the hospital and some transition magic to find Dr. Bax in his office, jotting down some of his findings and research, seeming to have an epiphany. In the halls, Cordy brings Xander coffee and Krispy Kreme and sits with him. I'm like, yum, they got some Krispy Kreme up in here? They must have been sponsored this week by Krispy Kreme, because usually when you have stuff in the episodes or TV shows, movies, they have to turn them around backwards or show like the back label of stuff. You can't have the actual logo on the screen, but Krispy Kreme's right there. So either they just... maybe they had some Krispy Kreme donuts on set. Sponsored. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Also, in another hall, we see the doctor on his way to the kids' room while Buffy stalks him from behind. In the room, he's seen using one of Marcy's syringes to dose one of the girls in the room, hearing a wicked and raspy chuckle, assuming it is nothing, and continues. And then he is attacked by something invisible, and all the kids begin to freak out as he's slashed across the chest, drawing blood and being murdered as they watch. And he gets thrown out into the hall where Buffy kneels over him, only to be knocked back by an invisible force that she's like, hey, who's in here? Like when Marcy came running by the last time someone invisible pushed her.
I literally spent so much time this episode thinking about that bitch. I was like, oh, okay, we know who's here.
It's Marcy. Marskindestad. All right, I'm done. She watched the invisible force drag the body down the hall and around the corner, and she just sits there and lets that happen. Like, he didn't knock you back that far, and you're not sick as you were, Buffy. So, like, why didn't you tail off after the doctor being dragged off? She's just like, am I seeing this, or am I like, what is happening? Because she's already probably having that moment where she's like, I saw the monster walk by my room, and then I woke up, and these kids are saying they see it, but now I don't see it. So, like, what's happening? So I kind of get that. But fun facts drop here. Kindestad was modeled apparently after Freddy Krueger. And here we can see that this scene mirrors the similar death of Tina in the first Nightmare on Elm Street, when Freddy plays Skin the Cat with her, when he drags her up the walls and her boyfriend's watching her to get killed. And then he slashes her across the chest and all that blood pours out. And then later in Nancy's dream, whenever she's asleep in the school and wakes up inside the school, he has the bloody bag with Tina in it, and he's dragging it down the hallways. So I thought this was a little homage to Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't know if they did that intentionally, but I'm pretty sure that if he was modeled after him, they also got the scene inspiration for this from that. From this and that.
Very likely.
And all the others. And we know we like the Freddy Kruegs. Fred Krugstad. The next day, Giles comes in to tell Buffy that she was on to something, but she knows that he knows that she knows about the knowing. Giles adding the records Tina showed her getting better, but then having a decline without apparent cause. Willow adding they checked up on Backer, who was into some shady stuff. Buffy clarifying it wasn't him, he was clean, in the sense of the fact that he's now dead and that thing killed him. Handing Giles the picture Ryan drew of the demon, telling them of Dr. Back being shredded in front of her and the invisible thing knocking her down. Side note too, Giles asking Buffy if this is her artwork. Like, he thought that she drew that picture. Shit was so funny. He's like, he's like, this is your drawing. She's like, no, a little kid drew that. And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, I was worried about you for a second. He's like, do I need to get you some new Crayola or something? Because Buffy, you should be drawing at least a medium like level. Like, it's no stick figures in your future, bitch. I thought the picture was pretty good, especially the last picture too. He like even put the little cross necklace Buffy was wearing on. Like he didn't even know she was a vampire slayer. And Buffy had no cross necklace on this episode, but they had to make it a point that he knew. Just saying.
He has his own visions.
I didn't have that written, so he's Billy. He had the psychic sight, but she did see it, but isn't sure why she saw it the other night when she was delirious, but not last night. Their convo getting cut short by Joyce entering the room, interrupting the secret meeting. Laugh out loud at Cordy. The way that Cordy interacts.
Ooh, looks like I interrupted a secret meeting.
You sure didn't.
Honey,
The fact that she really did interrupt a secret meeting is just like, and is just being jokey without knowing. This episode is low-key so funny in its dialogue and moments, like I said, and this is one of them. I really, more than anything, love the fucking way that Cordelia is just like, ha. She's there though to tell Buffy she is able to take her home. Buffy obviously can't leave yet because of the demon sitch, and excuses that she still feels all oogie. Like, she's like, I feel oogie. I'm like, what is oogie? Oogie boogie? Everybody backing her up, and Joyce moving off to speak with the doctor about an extra day's stay. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, you got to stick around to take care of this demonic energy. You can't just tell your mom it's a free ticket to be in the hospital versus like just loitering at the hospital if you got released. People being like, why are you here? Who are you visiting? You don't have a visitor's pass, all of that type of stuff. But like, damn, Buffy about to cost Joyce an extra $10,000 per stay, because you see what I did there? I thought it was like fucked up, because it is not cheap to stay one night in the fucking hospital. And she's over here, Mom, I still feel a little oogie. Can you please keep me in? Joyce is like, bitch, you've been in here for 3 days. I cannot afford this. The gallery ain't paying me that much. I can't even get a new dealer. I'm out of weed this week. Like, no, you're not staying here another night. Like, what are you talking about? Shit was funny. The good thing about me being delirious is whenever I nail these fucking like jokes that I wrote in my script, it's just like fun. And honestly, I love when you bust out laughing from me saying the shit that I've written, because it's so us.
He's a $10,000 per stay. I'm still stuck on.
Because it's not the $10,000 per sleigh, it's the $10,000
bed
per
and breakfast.
stay. What about breakfast?
I said you all made it sound like it was a bed and breakfast.
She's staying at the Omni in Asheville.
She's staying at the Airbnb with the 27 candles.
Oh shit, that's funny. The gang resumes their drill on the demon. Giles needs to get a mugshot and info on the demon so Buffy can know what she's fighting. She will check Dr. Back's room to see if there are any post-it notes that say, why a monster might want me dead. That was a funny quote. But if she does find anything, of course, she will be clueless, and that's where Willow will come in with the brains, which she will be great with because her and Xander used to play doctor all the time. And then we have that whole awkward interaction where they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, oh, God.
Willow doesn't know what actually doctor is.
Willow took it too serious. She's like, that's not how y'all play doctor. Back on the real subject, they break to go do their thing. Xander continuing to stick around at the hospital, offering Cordy to go with Giles. And I like this too, because Giles is like, why do I have to? And then he catches himself and he's like, oh, well, I don't want to sound rude. And he's like, oh, well, a research partner will be Jiffy Jolly then. Like, he changes his tone real quick. And Cordy's like, trying to like be like, come on, let's go, tact guy, because she clocked that shit. I'm like, oh my God. He didn't want to go with Cordelia. That's so fucked up.
I'm sorry, but I realized in this moment that if out of the whole group of people, literally out of anyone who's been on the whole show or series so far, I feel like I would be most offended if Giles didn't want to hang out with me in particular. Like, only Giles's opinion in that case scenario matters to me. Like, I would have been so sad if I was Cordy and he was just straight up like, really? You're going to put me with this fucking bitch? Like, are you for real?
But listen, I also kind of understand it, because if we just flash back to the Dark Age and when she comes in the library when he's with the cops and he's like, you know, like, you need to take the hint. She's like, yeah, well, I get the hint. What's the hint? Like, he just knows how frustrating it is to deal with Cordelia and try to keep her on track about
and
what
then
they
we
need to
really
do.
get into that anyway. Because shining example.
He already knew what was gonna fucking go down in that library with him working with Cordelia. And the bad part is like you just said, it literally played out that way. So he was trying to avoid it. Oh shit, it's so funny.
Like, I hate life.
But this is what I'm saying. Even though the episode just came off of Jenny's death and it's so fucking serious in tone and dark, like melodrama and sickness and death and all of that is a huge element, it's still got so much funny stuff in it.
Even for Giles, because you would think for someone with like his level of grieving right now that he wouldn't even be fazed by shit in the real world. Like, his head would just be all fucked up from this whole traumatic ass situation, that if someone was like, okay, you gotta go chill with Cordy tonight, he would just be like, all right, whatever, because he's gonna be like melancholy anyway. But he was like, what the fuck, why? Like,
fucking stupid.
I felt bad for her. I felt so bad. I was like, really? But look, she's been cutting all the jokes today, Giles. At least you'll be entertained.
Buffy and Willow gain entry to Dr. Back's office and search it, which feels weird. He didn't even finish his coffee. And she's like, and his froth is all melted. Buffy commenting about how he was another person that she wasn't in time to save. Willow finding evidence he wasn't into shading dealings. His methods were proving effective against the kids virus, actually trying to help the kids, in fact, till that thing stopped him. In the library, Giles is getting extremely annoyed with Cordelia. I forgot this came up so quick. Asking him what every demon they're looking at does, because she's like, what's that one do? And what's that one do?
What does this one do?
It elongates its mouth to engulf its victim's head with its incisors.
Ouch. Wait, what does this one do?
It asks endless questions of those with whom it's supposed to be working so that nothing is getting done.
Boy, there's a demon for everything.
Him also frustrating because they don't even know what he looks like since it's invisible to most. Cordy closing a book to say, well, it's just not in here. As Giles takes notice to the cover, which looks exactly like the demon. Later in Buffy's room, she's on the phone with Cordy while Willow listens in as she tells her about how she's found the monster, naming it 𝑘𝒉𝒁, and that name translating directly to child death. And that would be a good moment for me to pause for 2 seconds for you to be like, when you came in here, you were like, did you know, Brandon, that I'm German? And
that's exactly what I said.
This translates to child death. And I'm like, yeah, it's in the episode too. And then you're like, but really, it's legit. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, so real talk, even though I'm making a joke, is that something you ever like heard about, or when you just heard the word 𝒕𝒉𝒁, you were already like, I know what that means, it's German roots and stuff?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard it, and I actually kind of want to ask my mom about it because she would know more about this German type of stuff. But it was because it so directly translates like the two words as one. Before they even like went into the meaning or say it on the script or in the show, I knew right away because I was like, oh shit, it's German, you know, because like when you hear a German word, even if you have no idea before anyone translates it, you usually know that's a German word just based on how it sounds. So of course, like my ears were like, oh, what was that? And then when they said it the second time, I was like, oh, some kid's about to die.
Oh. Damn, that's fucked up. I'm gonna need you to like legit ask your mom. I'm gonna be texting you in 2 days, be like, did you ask Manuela Desatella about
I'm like, Mom, send me a voice recording explaining what all German lore you know, especially if anything comes to mind about kids and dying. And then hopefully she actually does it so then we can just put it into the podcast.
I know, right? No, that shit's crazy though. I'm like almost curious about the fact, like, what if she comes back and tells you, oh yeah, there's like this creepy figure of a man with a hat that like kills children.
Elaborate description.
Yeah. And I'm like,
she's like back in 1809.
Well, I mean, Krampus is real, so like 𝒕𝒉𝒁 could
True.
be like, who knows?
Yeah.
What did you say the actual pronunciation of his name is?
It's 𝒕𝒉𝒁.
𝒕𝒉𝒁
is how you say it. Yeah.
All right, great. Y'all hear Courtney's accent?
German bitch.
Well, child death, he feeds off children by sucking out their life force, leaving them to look like they died of sickness. Cordy calling out the children's ward as an all-you-can-eat buffet for the thing. I thought that was funny as fuck. Cluing them in on the demon killing the doctor because he was taking away its food, hence the sliceage. Cordy handing over the phone to Giles to finish giving the disgusting details on how it kills, because she's like, I'm fucking over that. Saying that it pins them down and draws the energy out slowly, claiming it to be a surely horrific experience for the kid. Buffy having a mental flashback of seeing Celia attacked by something invisible and being horrified by it. And we finally get the click in of like, oh shit, she watched her niece literally fucking die. And now we know that back in the day, it was 𝒕𝒉𝒁 that killed this little bitch. Buffy saying that she has to kill this thing, but doesn't know how if she can't see it. When she did, she was crazed with the fever. And Buffy put the pieces together. She has done her duty on connecting the dots as we see the two go back into Dr. Back's office, and Buffy's had the idea to inject herself with the fever virus again so that she will be sick and can see the demon. Willow wondering how she's going to fight it with a 107-degree temp. Buffy saying, I guess we'll see, and about to go bottoms up on the bottle of the virus. And Willow stopping her. She's like,
Buffy, that's 100% pure. It'll kill you in an instant.
And Buffy's just like, oh, fuck.
Oh. They really should put that on the label.
It needs to be diluted, and then she puts a few drops of it in a glass of water and gives it to Buffy to drink. And that's probably one of my favorite moments in the episode. Buffy going back under the influence of the sickness, so that way she's able to see and fight 𝒕𝒉𝒁, is a really neat element and testament on how she's willing to sacrifice, even if it's just in her health, to save the day. And I like how it's also paired with Willow's humor alongside Buffy, because I love their duo in the moments like this. But the fact that she's like having to explain something, like, thank God Buffy has a friend like Willow, and Willow was in the room with her, because Buffy would have drank that bottle. And then, as we talk about any other episode, you know, last episode it would have been the Slayer's death by mousetrap, or, you know, she was sucked out by the master, or whatever. This time it's gonna be, oh, she took too much medicine. Like,
she took too much flu.
Thank God at this point all these things that could have killed Buffy won't be the thing that, you know, brings on the next Slayer, since the line runs with Kendra, because Buffy gets to avoid all of this potential embarrassment. Out in the halls, moments later, Buffy is feeling the effects already. I'm like, apparently Willow put the perfect dosage in there. Those 2 little drops really fucked her up in 5 seconds. The 2 arriving at the kids' room, and they are all gone out of their beds. We cut to underground where Ryan is leading the kids in tunnels at the hospital, so 𝒬𝒧𝒏 can't find them, I guess. Buffy outside the room, worrying about how they're going to find them when she gets a sense of something in the room. I like that too. She's like, I think something's in there. She's like talking about how her fever is back. And then we see the demon fade into reality and into her vision, saying that it's in there. And she watches him search for the kids and then looks directly at her through the door, as I was mentioning earlier, and leaving through the basement access door that's conveniently in the child's wardroom. Like, so many problems with this. Like, why is the fucking basement access in the children's ward room? So we can directly get down there to gobble them up? Like, what?
Yeah,
What?
basically.
That's got to be
They just like
convenient.
put themselves on a platter for him.
Like, no wonder he was able to get in there. He was coming up from the damn basement, like, just hanging out down there during the day. And as soon as nighttime comes, I ain't worried about him teleporting anymore. Now I know how he's getting around. He does have that car out in the parking lot. After he eats all these children, he's moving up to the next town.
He just travels underground. He's urbexing.
I don't know what the fuck's happening with 𝒬𝒧𝒏, but this shit was wilding out. But once again, I like have to point out that I really like the fact that for a demon, for like I called him sadistic earlier in my intro, the fact that he takes off politely his hat and basically adieus Buffy to greet her before going down. Like, he knows that she can see him. Like, so that
and then
means...
they all show his lanky ass snake fingers like go up on the door like some fucking creep.
Yeah, and he like sifts by. Yeah, it's really fucking eerie and creepy, and like they did good with that. But just the element of him being nice, like being a hospitable,
like he's a gentleman killer.
There's that. No, but
he's gonna be a gentleman, but he's gonna kill your kids.
Yes, the gentleman. Spoilers. The female doctor comes into the hall, noticing Buffy struggling to get into the ward after it, asking what's up, and Willow excuses that she's feeling bad again, and the doc's like, okay, well, back to bed for you. And Buffy's like, no, and then just pushes this bitch across the hall, and Willow and her run off, and the doctor's obviously like, okay, time to call security. Guards stopping Buffy and Willow in the halls, and Willow distracts them with her supposed frog fear that while Buffy makes her escape. The doctor catches up, screaming, not her, the other one, because I think it's funny as fuck. This is another one of the funny scenes. Like, Willow's like, she's like, frogs, get him off me. And then by the time the doctor comes up, she's like, you guys are literally not on the trail. Like, you're supposed to be after the other one. Shit's funny too, because Willow just looks back at them and she's like,
Do we frogs?
Buffy runs into Xander in the halls, telling him they got to get into the basement as we see 𝒬𝒧𝒏 making his way down the tunnels the kids took as they run into a boiler-esque room, reminiscent again of old Kruger. And just as little Ryan tells them they're going to be safe in there, 𝒬𝒧𝒏 snatches this little boy up and all the kids start to wig the fuck out. Like, I thought that was some bad timing. He's like, we're going to be fine in here. And then he's like, whoop, scoop. And I'm like, oh, bye, Ryan. Buffy and Xander making their way down there too, so Buffy can try violence to stop the demon. Us getting a view of the demon's eyes peeling back and 2 demonic suction things coming out of his sockets as he pins down Ryan, the things attaching to his forehead. Holy hell, in real life, this would totally be horrifying. The fact that these things come out of his eyes and then attach to your fucking forehead. One, it's gross. It looks hella unsanitary. It's kind of giving bad eggs with the like little weird stringy touch Buffy's face crap, but like the worst version of that. The CGI part where the things come out, but then they had to make this prop for like him to put his head near these children's like face and then stick them
something to stick on their head. Yeah,
like I want to see what this makeup and like procedure looked like, or if it was just like something they like put on the kid's face. I can't I'm pretty sure you see his head in the like line of sight for the POV. I can't really remember. Like I said, it's been a week and a half since I actually watched the episode, and I didn't write down specific notes on what it looked like, but just the effects and stuff, pretty cool for sure, but at the same time icky, and I get why like
100%. Like anytime something happens with eyes, I'm like, how many times a year do you think he gets pink eye?
Yes, that's the answers to the questions that we need. No, but like seriously, at the same time too, the fact that his eyes disappear and like suck back out of the socket and then it's replaced with these things, like what do you do in this moment whenever those things are out and like he can't see?
How can you
he's
see?
Just relying on feel at that point. Like he knows he's got his victim pinned down, but he's also got 7 other children over here screaming. How do you know they're not? You don't have peripheral vision at that point to know that they're running out the room.
That's where that saying came from. I got eyes in the back of my head.
Can you ask your mom about that too, if that's true? If moms really do have eyes in the back of their head because of 𝒬𝒧𝒏?
I'm a mom. I can answer that. Yes.
Oh, yeah, you are a mom. I didn't know this. This is brand new information.
That is brand new information.
Oh my god, that's wild.
I like how in my mind this is the second time that Friends has come up, because did you think of Monica in the beginning scene when Buffy's sick and Monica's like, I'm fine when she's...
No, I didn't, but you should have brought it up then. That would have been so funny.
I forgot, but yeah, that is one of the first things I thought of when it dawned on me that she actually has like a cold and it wasn't her crying, and I was like, oh look, it's Monica.
That's what Buffy should have said to the lady doctor that's been helping him all episode, his co-doctor person. What do they call that? Another doctor?
Co-doctor.
But when she's in the room with Buffy and she's like, no, you can't go yet. And Buffy's like, what are you talking about? I'm fine. That would have been a fun time to say that. Buffy's like, I'm fine. Getting back into the actual episode instead of our weird tangents that were going on. Those things attached to Ryan's forehead, and just as he's about to suck him dry, just in time, Buffy comes up from behind and bashes 𝑘𝒉𝒄 across the head with a board, telling him, you make me sick. And I really like the moment here, because Buffy is always very clever with her banter, and she has to make a pun before she kills the demons. So she's like, you make me sick, because it's like the episode she's sick and he's killing little sick kids, and I'm just like, see what y'all did there, y'all are so clever. She gets into battle with it as Xander comes in rushing the kids out, watching Buffy take on the air from his point of view. This is funny. Buffy's just over there like swooping at the fucking air, and he's just like, what is she doing? She's like hallucinating, but he knows he's invisible, so that's the thing. But hearing the punches and sounds of fighting too, which was a pretty cool element. They were still adding the sounds in there. Buffy is almost taken down by the demon, who grabs her and tries to do the eye thing on her. And he's got the time to like do the whole eyeball suckage, let the little things start coming out. And now he can't see that Buffy's about to break his neck, because that's what the fuck she does, and kills his ass. Xander calling out if Buffy feels okay, and she claims that she's starting to feel better, but collapsing as he helps her out. He ponders if the demon's dead, because he heard something snap, and Buffy's like, that would be his neck. And I wrote in parentheses, goodbye, 𝑘𝒉𝒄𝒐. I was telling myself when I wrote that in my notes, I was like, I'm going to call him 𝒕𝒉𝒂𝒕 all episode, and then I forgot until just now. 𝒕𝒉𝒂𝒕. Arriving in our final scene at the Summers residence, Buffy's back home and on the mend, hanging out in her bedroom with Xander and Willow in bed, as Joyce brings in her incorrect version of her perfect PB&J. But the perfect version of her drink. She got to redo the sandwich though, because Buffy's like, I wanted crunchy peanut butter, but she had come in prefacing. She's like, babe, I got the fucking edges and crust cut off for you. I put your favorite jelly flavor on here. And she's like, but bitch, this shit don't got no peanuts up in here. What the fuck? How's this peanut butter if there ain't no peanut?
She's like, I asked for extra jelly.
She's like, I'm not. She's like, anybody, I don't know if you ever watched it, Courage the Cowardly Dog. There's this specific episode where Muriel gets hit by a tornado, and it sucks her up in it, and it makes her life like go back in time in the tornado, and she turns into a baby Muriel, but yet she still has her glasses and little old lady gray hair as the baby. But either way, Courage literally makes her macaroni and cheese, because he's like, what do you want to eat? And she's like, macaroni and cheese. So he has to make her 18,000 fucking times macaroni and cheese, because she's like,
cheese! Cheese and macaroni. Too much macaroni. Ooh, perfect. I hate macaroni and cheese.
this is what the scene reminded me of. Without all the drama and the dramatics, because I'm being extra. But she's doing anything to make her daughter feel well. On the way out, Willow asked for a refill on her drink. And I thought I'm adding all this dialogue in here and all this like stuff just because it's funny. Because she's like, well, while you're up, like, can I get a refill on my Coca-Cola? And Joyce is like, okay. And Willow's like, I'm just so comfortable. And and Xander needs the bag of fucking chips too, because he's like, I need some more cheesy chips because these ones are all gone. And Joyce claims that he ate the last bag. Him not being stupid and knowing that she's a stoner, he claims that is a fucking lie, because he knows that there's an extra bag in the cabinet behind the raisins hidden. And Willow's like, ooh, I'll take some raisins too. She doesn't say that, but as soon as she said raisins, I know Willow looked at her and she was like, can you bring the raisins too? But like, also, Xander's been up in the fucking cabinets in Buffy's house, like getting food and stuff. Did he grab that original bag and just saw them, or is he like any other teenage boy? And when he comes over to hang out at Buffy's house, does he just help himself to the refrigerator? And he doesn't. He's like, no, Joyce, you stay in here. I'm gonna go find something big or small. He's like, I got this. He says, I know where the glasses are. I poured Pada a glass one time, remember? He's like, I know my way around here. You've seen those trends on internet where it's like, not my house, but I know my way around. Like,
yes.
Xander's is the picture of Buffy's house. He's like, not my house, but I know my way around.
I literally thought about putting that up last time I went into a bando.
Really? That would have been great. You should still do that. The ones that you've been to multiple times.
Exactly. I'm going to go do a revisit just to do that caption.
The next time we go back to the school that's in
not my school, but I know my way around.
Yeah, and I'll hold up the dead dog's skeleton.
Oh no. This was fresh the first time we saw it.
Okay, well, before Joyce...
We can do it before and after.
Yes, exactly. Before Joyce heads out to complete these annoying tasks for Buffy and her friends, she does bring back in a piece of mail that came from Buffy, and it's from Ryan at the hospital. He drew her a picture as Joyce looks at it with Buffy, and it's a picture of Buffy standing on top of the demon cracked in half with blood gushing everywhere. Joyce commenting, how nice. We fade to black, and here endeth the episode.
Best ending ever.
For real. I like how the episode ended. We're just back in the bed. Like, it's very anticlimactic. She's already killed the demon, but we're just back at home knowing that Buffy is going to be feeling better. But I also like how she's got her friends here with them. And that's just another time like this season, because we've seen multiple times where her and Xander and Willow are just kind of like hanging out at her house. And that's what they're doing now. They're keeping her company. They're there for her. And more than anything, I just always love the trio's bond more than life itself, you know?
Yes.
Goofy ass fucking episode. All right, let's get into the metaphor. This is the only time in the series when we see Buffy is actually sick. Spoiler alert, Courtney. But you know how I am. I always be telling you when something just ain't going to happen again. Or people aren't going to reappear like that bitch from School Hard. Sheila.
Yes, Sheila.
And her boyfriend's name was Meat Pie. But yes.
How do we forget that?
But yes, I'm always going to tell you when something doesn't happen again. And Buffy never gets sick again. As opposed to a spell like in Witch, the illness comes right after the terrible events of passion. And the effect is that she's weakened enough to the point that she can't carry out her Slayer duty. I like how they call back out because Buffy's technically been sick before, because in the Witch episode, Catherine the Great in Amy's body put that spell that made Buffy basically be dying of sickness to take her out of the competition so she could be a cheerleader. Like, we remember, we were there. In metaphor, though, her illness is connected to her feeling sick over Jenny's death. Joyce giving us a big hint in this case when she comments, Buffy's been so down since it happened. I mean, she never gets sick. She literally quotes that. When we get sick, the natural thing to do is seek treatment to get well. Buffy, however, fears the hospital since it reminds her of a previous occasion when she and her mind failed to act in time with Celia, and now in a way of Jenny and Angelus once again blaming herself. One consequence of being violently ill is the potential of death. 𝑘𝒉 obviously represents the fear of death for children. The fact that Buffy is able to see him by making herself sicker shows us how she too is still a child in some ways, even though she's at the in-between stage of adolescence and the road to adulthood, which we often mention as the show's overall theme and meaning. Buffy prevents herself from the sense of helplessness when she saves the children, helping her face her battle and sickness over the death of Jenny to Angelus. Cordelia herself says, so this isn't about being afraid of hospitals because your friend died and you want to conjure up a monster that you can fight so you can save everybody and not feel so helpless. A case of the dialogue making sure we don't miss the message, as Cordy, as Buffy's metaphorical shadow, presents this info. The reason the children can see the demon is because helplessness is something children experience all the time. Adults can, we hope, act to solve their problems. By identifying the problem, Buffy's able to overcome the sense of helplessness all children suffer from and resume her Slayer duties. That is her metaphorical road to adulthood. And then the death of Jenny was Buffy's first important failure on her road to her destiny. She had to move past that sense of failure before she could resume the journey. So that's what this episode was all about, is her, like I said, it was like, even though they didn't mention it in a bigger way, it's kind of the coping mechanism for her, since obviously that's our point of view is from Buffy going through the show. whether we have all the sad stories of everybody else, we have to always relate it back to how Buffy's experiencing everything. And it makes sense because she's feeling, lagged up. That's why the backstory with Celia is there too. She's failed before, even before she had her Slayer duties. And now she's had all these other people die. And we are left to assume that just more people that are close with Buffy or more people that she would like to save aren't going to have that happen. So she's going to have to keep coming up with this, but she obviously has to resume her journey and continue on the road to the Slayer. So she has to get well so that way she can do it such. So that's that. Buffy fun facts.
Hit me with them.
I got to bring it up again. Willow's fear of frogs mentioned when Giles woke her up in What's My Line? Don't warn the tadpoles. I have frog fear. Like the whole comment. I mentioned Willow playing with the frog, the stuffed animal in the library while she was talking to Buffy in Inca Mummy Girl about Xander noticing every other girl when, he's obsessed with Umpata and shit. But here she is once again using the excuse of a fear of frogs to seem crazy in the hospital. So I'm like, Willow, you're not actually afraid of frogs. So quit using it as your excuse. This is I think the last time I have to say this in this context. But I'm just like, they keep bringing up this frog shit. And I'm like, Willow is not actually afraid of frogs or she wouldn't have had that stuffed animal. I'm sorry. If they had never put that in the scene, I would have been fully on board with the fact that Willow does not like frogs. I think she loves them secretly. So she sure don't like fish anymore. She just don't like water creatures. Now I see why she don't like frogs. And jealous was going to get them. The book in which Cordelia finds information on 𝑘 also contains a passage on a demon belonging to the Brotherhood of Seven Demons, and that was one of the demons that was mentioned in the puppet show. Like, that was the 7 demons, and the last one was Mark that was trying to get the heart and the brain so that way they could live another X amount of years and all that stuff. According to Joss Whedon, 𝑘 was based on, quote, this thing that creeped me out as a kid, as this is the case with many of the monsters that he created on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. In general, Xander tells Buffy that this is not the time to challenge Angel for the Ultimate Fighting Championship, referring to the sports organization that has been staging MMA fights since 1993, which makes me think of Monica's boyfriend, since we're on the Friends theme from season 3 of Friends. He wanted to be the Ultimate Fighting Champion. Like, I can't remember his name right now. I just passed those episodes not long ago, but as soon as he talks about the Ultimate Fighting Championship, I was like, oh, I wonder if Angel will see Monica's ex-boyfriend there. Because she all breaks up with that guy because he keeps getting beat up. And she's like, I can't watch you go through this. When Buffy says the kids called the monster they saw death, Xander warns her not to play chess with him if he asks her to because he's a whiz at it. This is a reference to the movie The Seventh Seal, in which a medieval knight plays chess with death for his life. So I guess Xander saw that movie. Entering the hospital, Angelus whistles part of Symphony No. 9, composed by Ludwig van Beethoven in 1824. And then there was a goof I'm throwing in here. The phone that Giles takes Joyce to when Buffy falls asleep in the hospital is seen unplugged and has no cord coming from it, with a visible empty jack on the lower left side of the phone. So she took her to that phone. She picked it up to call somebody, and there was no one there. And I wrote my note. She was probably so stoned she used it anyways and didn't even realize and hallucinated a whole phone call. All right.
That's some good ass weed she's smoking.
That's what I'm saying. She got that morphine drip that Buffy had, so she would try to use a phone that wasn't plugged up. All right, let's get into our final slays.
Final slays.
Killed by death. Final slays. A quote for the episode. What are yours? Just in case I try to steal them.
My favorite quote for this entire episode is when Xander says, "My whole life flashed before my eyes. I need to get a life." Because it's so typical Xander, but also really fucking funny. So that was my quote.
My quote. Giles, after Cordy says she was out of the loop on gifts, and Giles moves in to say it's sort of a tradition, and then he pauses, amongst people, like as if you should just know this. That was mine. Who was your shining slayer?
I don't really know. This one was kind of hard for me because Buffy was obviously she's the shining slayer in the essence of slaying the monster of the week kind of situation. But obviously she was in the hospital, so that was a huge theme, and she was kind of less than her usual self. So a part of my shining slayer has to honestly go to Xander just for doing what he did with Angel and kind of being the reason I think we didn't see Angel for the rest of the episode, because we didn't. So it's a duel. It's a shared trophy this week, and I think it goes to Buffy and Xander equally. But obviously, Buffy slayed the shit out of the problem, so here we are.
Exactly. For moments that I have two people, because typically I always try to just choose one, because obviously the category is for Shining Slayer. But since Slayerette is a thing for like Slayerette predictions, I usually write a follow-up. If I have a second person, I call it the Shining Slayerette instead of just the Slayer. So that way people don't have to share the title. It's like a first up and second up. So my first one obviously is Buffy as well, because she helped all the kids and killed the demon, duh. Once again, being at the right place at the right time as well, because she's the Slayer. But my Shining Slayerette goes to Willow for not letting Buffy drink the whole bottle of the flu virus.
Yes, that's a good point.
Buffy, there would have been no
Otherwise, we
Slayer.
would be dead. Yeah, exactly.
The show would have been
accidental suicide.
The whole Kendra would have came back and she would have been like, "I'm the Slayer now. I got to kill Angelus." And she would have done it real quick. She would have not had no problem. She ain't got no emotional tie.
None. She already wanted to do it.
She's like, "I already wanted to do it. He's a monster." I love Kendra. Weekly wigs. I think we can probably both agree on 𝑘𝒉𝒆𝒊𝒏𝒈 being the weekly wig.
Specifically his eye.
Yep, that's what I wrote. His eyes popping out of his head. Ugh. Yep.
Instead of him having something in his eye, he has something out of his eye.
Yeah, you've got something out your eye. The master would not be pleased with this decision. Rest in peace. Except not. Slayerette predictions. The only thing I got for you, obviously, for this one is the next episode. And that one is called I Only Have Eyes for You.
Oh, no. We were just talking about eyes. Like, does the master come back and gouge some eyes out?
Yes.
You've got something in your eye.
Oh, my God. That's really interesting that we just, that. It's Revamp's cutscene transition magic.
Literally. I want to say, just by that tone of the phrase, that it might have something to do with Buffy and Angel, but I don't know. Maybe that would be too obvious, but that is what I'm going to go with.
Well, they're in the episode, I'll tell you that, especially Buffy.
No, this is the first one she's not in.
Let's see. Should I give you a breadcrumb? Do you want a breadcrumb?
Give me a breadcrumb.
All right. There's another dance at the school.
That's not even a good breadcrumb. I only have eyes for you, and then you're going to tell me about a dance. Those two things don't go together.
Shoo-bop, shoo-bop. Shoo-bop, shoo-bop. Second breadcrumb in a way. No, the episode has themes in a way. I wouldn't say the whole episode's like this, but we have a little bit of like a time era vibe going on. So we have some other era energy happening in this episode as well.
I still don't know.
I figured. It's really hard.
But it's not centered around Buffy and Angel, is what you're saying.
I don't know how to answer that. Yeah, yes and no, but no. Like, if that is how I could give that statement. I know that sounds really stupid and weird, but it's not like the main theme. Like, the actual main theme has to do with something else, but it deeply ends up tying in those two. So we'll just leave it at that, because otherwise I'm going to end up telling you about the whole episode. But now you get to go watch it. So I'll put it out there. I really enjoyed this episode. It's not like a favorite from the season or anything like that, but the whole episode from start to finish, like especially having, episodes like Phases or this one where they're filler in that way, and it's not like a Xander-centric kooky episode. This one, it has a little bit more of a like serious tone, but it has a really cool concept of it, and I like the elements that are presented in it and the whole story, some of the stuff that happens in it. Like, it's a really good one. After we finish that episode next time, we only have 3 episodes to go. Like, right now we have 4 episodes to go until we're done with season 2. So, that puts a whole other element there too, knowing that we're dwindling down on the storyline and what could be happening. So,
fun. All
right, great. We hope everyone enjoyed our coverage of Killed by Death. How do you guys feel about this one? Do you enjoy the monster of the week? Do you love 𝑘𝒉𝒆𝒊𝒏𝒈? I forgot his name for a second there. Buffy battling some hospital trauma. How do you feel about that? Let us know. And as always, thank you for listening. And we will meet you guys back here next week for I Only Have Eyes for You. So we will talk to you then. Bye.
Bye.
Do you think she's going to be okay in here?
I don't know. Lisette got her nose done here, and she came in looking for the Gwyneth Paltrow and looked more like the Mr. Potato Head.
Party.
Buffy's not in here for cosmetic surgery.
No, but while she's in here, she might as well get that thing done. You know that thing on her face? You know that thing.
Do you think Angel will attack Buffy in here?
He can come in. It's a public building.
That's true.
Am I the only one that's noticed that thing?
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Buffy on Revamped. Remember to join us next week for a new episode release as we continue our journey through Sunnydale. We also would like to hear from you, so share your thoughts. Discuss with us your perspectives on this or previous week's episodes by following us on Instagram and sending us a DM at revamped_rewatchpodcast.
Or by emailing us at revampedrewatchpod@gmail.com. Additionally, we will be choosing one of your messages to shout out in an upcoming episode release. And if you happen to love abandoned places but prefer them vampire-free, check out Echoes of Elsewhere, an urban exploration podcast, where I interview urban explorers about the eerie spaces they uncover, anything from haunted schools, forgotten mansions, and tunnels that probably don't lead to the Hellmouth. From history to mysteries, tips and tricks of the trade, I dive into all things urbex. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Until next time, the Earth is definitely doomed.
This podcast is dedicated to the Buffyverse, to its fans, and my sister, Tiffany Dawn Pearson.